me and you. We can say stuff, but at the end of the day, it might be a flop.
Sure.
It might be a home run.
There is an opportunity for people to be different, and let me show you why we're different.
I think the biggest challenging part was, getting people to trust you.
Mark, what's up, dude? Doing well. Today we got Mr. Mark Dominguez in the building. Mark, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
So I own Dominguez Marketing. Started in 2018. I've been in the industry since 2009. And we primarily do digital marketing and website design.
There's a lot of people in digital marketing these days, ain't it?
A lot.
So you said since 2009?
Yeah.
So you didn't just watch a YouTube course online by Neil Patel and then all of a sudden start selling people a bunch of shit you didn't know how to do?
Nope.
I feel like that's the fast track. If you want to get rich quick, folks, that's the way. Watch a YouTube video, lie your ass off, and tell people you do all these things that you have no idea how to do, and then you figure out the rest later, right? Isn't that?
Either that or just roll out of bed one morning and say, I want to do social media marketing. That's the other one.
So I don't want to hear anyone say there's not opportunities in this world, because there's plenty of opportunities. You just got to seize those opportunities. Okay. So what made you want to actually open your own business as opposed to work for somebody else?
So I started in a bigger agency.
Okay.
200 employees. And for them, it's just all about money. It's not about customer relationship. It's not about, in my opinion, doing what's right. It's what's going to make us the most money. So doing that, then left and went to a smaller boutique agency to build a digital vision. And it really didn't change. It was just still about money and not about relationships. And so it was kind of that point where you see people just do what's in the best interest of the money and them versus the clients. So that just made me decide that I wanted to open my own, and it's strictly about the customer, the relationship with the customer. So we put relationships before money, and that's how I built it and where we are today.
Yeah, I tell folks I had a similar backstory, and I'm like, there were irreconcilable differences, which led to our divorce, Your Honor. And that's fine, right? Like, you have a business, you want to run your business, and who am I to tell you how to run your business, and who are they to tell me how to run my business? It's fine. We're all capitalists, and we all need to make money and support our families, but I don't feel like the two things are mutually exclusive in the sense of doing what's right and building a relationship and making money. I feel like those two things can live harmoniously together.
Absolutely.
I think it's just when people move down that spectrum of like trying to make money and that morphs into being greedy as fuck, that's where things kind of go awry.
Yep.
And most of the times it's the customer experience and the deliverables that suffer as a result of that, in my experience.
Absolutely. It's, you got to, obviously we're all in business to make money. I'm not doing this for my health and to, not see my family for hours and hours of,
right.
Throughout the day.
Sure.
The goal is to make money, but do it in a way where we make money, the businesses make money, and we're not, in a sense, stealing or robbing from them like most people do.
Mark coming in with the hot takes. Okay. All right. I like that. So talk to me, was it an easy decision for you? Because I know while things may conflict with your moral compass or ethically, like you said, you've got a family, you've got to support. So I can't imagine getting to a place where it's a very easy decision to say, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to do it for myself, right? Mm-hmm. Because no matter how uncomfortable it was for you, I can't imagine it was any more comfortable transitioning into, well, I've got a family to feed and I have no income.
Right.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't really have a choice. I guess I did. I could have went and found another job, but I was kind of in a way forced into it where, I got fired on the spot at my last job for, calling the owner out for lying and stealing to customers. So, I went home to my fiance and was like, hey, I have no job. We're getting married in a month. What do I do?
Sure, she was super happy about it.
She didn't leave, so that's a good thing.
Right. And that's when I knew she was the one.
Yeah. So it was either go get another job or start my own. So talking with her, she was like, why don't you just start your own? And I'm like, well, we have kids to take care of, family to take care of, we're getting married. So we did it, and, it sucked because for 3-4 months, it really took to get it up and running and, land my first like residual marketing client. We put everything on credit cards and, tried to spend as least amount as possible. And it's not easy with having 2 kids, so, but now I look at it and it was well worth it and happy I did it. And, but I don't know if I would ever made that choice myself, I guess, which is always, I'm glad something happened that forced me. So every negative thing that happens, you try to take it and turn it into a positive. And I took getting fired and turned it into a positive, and it's been the biggest accomplishment, I think, of my life.
Yeah, dude, that's amazing. Congratulations, because that's it's not an easy spot to be in.
No.
Especially like you said, you got 2 kids, and it's like, I can go on and on for hours about this, but I'm glad that you made that decision and you went after it, you shot your shot, and that it's worked out seemingly well for you, because it would have been just as easy to throw up your credentials somewhere and go get that, whatever it is, 60 grand, 70 grand with full benefits. It's much more comfy.
Yep.
Yeah. Than stacking shit up on credit cards and hoping that it takes off.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Especially with a wedding, the wedding.
A month out.
And it's like,
That's that's fucking amazing. What was the most challenging part once you got into the business? What was the most challenging part to kind of move forward and get through?
I think the biggest challenging part was, getting people to trust you, because so many people have been screwed over, taken advantage of. And here I am, really no credentials to my own self.
I swear I'm different.
I'm not the same.
That sounds a lot like somebody who's the same would say.
Yeah. So it's, having no credentials for yourself. Like everything I essentially was using was 2 past companies.
Right.
So, getting them to understand, like, this is who I am, this is what we're going to do, this is why we're different. But it seemed like, once I landed the first one, it was a snowball domino effect where it's like, you build results, use that for the next one, build results, use those 2 for the next one, plus the testimonials that we would get from working with each person within 1 to 2 months, they would leave positive reviews. So it's not something they would be like, we'll wait 6 months and see if it pays off, and then I'll give you a review. So just earning the trust pretty quickly helped. But the biggest thing was just getting people to, 1, talk to you, because a lot of them, when I was reaching out, I'm good where I'm at.
Yeah.
And then 6 months down the road, they would reach back out and be like, all right, now I'm not happy.
Right.
And then it was easier. But getting a lot of people just to open the door and talk to you was hard.
Yeah, it's always great getting the call, having that leverage in sales, right?
When they want you, and be like, "Hey, this is broke." No, it's not.
As opposed to calling and dealing with somebody who's tasked with keeping guys like you and myself away from them. Like, make sure these people don't get through. That's your only job.
Yep.
Gatekeep. It's like, fuck.
It's the worst.
Yeah, it's tough. But I got to tell you, a lot of you folks, girls and guys out there that are gatekeeping, you're doing a hell of a job, because, you're doing a hell of a job. So keep up the good work. That's, it's so funny. So what was it in particular that you found effective in distinguishing yourself from those other people and getting a foot in the door with that first person? Because I find it the same way, no matter, even as you get a reputation and you get some momentum, and people reach out to me all the time, and it's like, they still have broken-hearted syndrome, right? And I try to tell them, it's like, this girl that I liked in 6th grade, and I bought her the Mariah Carey's Greatest Hit for Christmas, and my sister wanted to cut my throat because that's the only thing she wanted. Like, so I had family issues because of it. That girl, she hated me. I loved her, right? And I could be brokenhearted about it. She liked Ryan instead. I'm like, in shit like that, you can't carry that energy into your next relationship or into your next relationship, because you'll never find happiness. And I put that in like a lighthearted way to make people see that, like, there is an opportunity for people to be different. And let me show you why we're different. But that's, it's easy to sit here and say that. Not everybody buys in and subscribes to that theory. So what did you find effective?
Me, it was just opening up kind of my personal life. So I even took it a unique way of, when there were certain businesses I wanted to work with, I would send them a friend request on Facebook prior, and we'd have mutual connections. So most of them would accept that. And then just posting, your daily life on, or not daily, but posting your life on social media, these people see that. So, as they see I have 2 kids and I just got married and I have a family, and then I also preach certain marketing things for my business, like we treat people like family, and then reposting the stuff for my current clients, like that made people understand from the outside in, like, oh, like I want that. It's almost like that life that you see people post about that you're like, is that true or not? And you're like, oh, I want that life,
right.
Where everything ends up perfect on social media. And then, so that's how I, kind of looked for who I wanted, and I reached out and I created that personal relationship. And then I would just send them messages every once in a while and be like, hey, I saw this, great, not knocking it. And then, hey, I saw this and this could be better, or this is something that, I noticed that's wrong. Just, you might want to fix it because it's costing you money. And then within a couple months, they would generally reach out and talk.
Yeah, I like that strategy. Add value, right? Be relatable. Like we're all humans. And, especially if you're in a local community, you have mutual connections that establishes some baseline rapport. And then, chiming in with some value, whether it's indirectly, you're just posting things, that you find important and see, people doing or not doing that they should or shouldn't be doing. And then taking it a step further and saying, hey, like if I were you, I'd probably do this. And this is why. Like that's adding value, really no strings attached. And if it, results in them saying, you know what, let's work together because I like your style. Fucking fantastic. Let's do it.
Yep. I always tell people, not everything do you have to make a penny on. There's some things where you can just, I can look at you and say, here's my recommendation. Take it for what it's worth. Obviously I got 12, 13 years in the industry, so right. I'm telling you this because of a specific reason, or, I think it matters, and do it. If you don't, then don't, but I'm not charging you for it. So I think people like that and are more open when you give free advice every once in a while.
Yeah, it's tough, though, in today's day and age with, we're getting pulled in so many different directions with TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. There's so much just inundation of information. How do you recommend people decipher through, stuff that's important and information that'll help them versus weeding out the noise and the things that are going to bog them down or maybe that isn't great information?
So I try to tell people, kind of see where your audience is first, right? Like I get people that come to me and they're like, I need to be tweeting about this. And I'm like, are you going to be tweeting about putting a toilet in? Are you going to be tweeting about, cutting your lawn because you're a landscaper? Like,
right.
You don't belong on Twitter. In my opinion, just because there's an outlet doesn't mean you have to be there. If it's a directory, okay. Social media, there's people that belong on Facebook and Instagram, and there's people that belong on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So it's like, depending on that, first see where you belong, where is your audience, and how are you going to be able to attract them in a way that works. And then from there, then start diving into, okay, I should be on TikTok. Okay, now what's happening? What's the updates? What should I be doing? And go from there. But, so many people are still in that mindset, well, I need to be everywhere. Well, no, because, you can make yourself look foolish, or you're going to have something that you're not keeping up to date, and then it makes you lack credibility because a page sits there and hasn't been posted on for a year or two.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So then just pay some marketing company $1,500 to post 7 syllables and stock images once a week to that social media outlet. I'm fucking with you. Don't do that, please.
Do it. No.
What is a helpful tool that business owners can use where they don't have to pay anyone? Maybe they pay a small subscription fee, but one that you found especially helpful to people that want to take a DIY approach to doing their marketing?
So it would all depend, on what version. If it's strictly marketing and not website related, one of the ones out there that more and more people are using would be like Canva. I tell people, we use it to a certain point because there's times where you need quick stuff that you don't want to put a lot of time or effort or energy into. So a Canva image is great. There's times where then, we're using Illustrator and, starting from scratch and it being professionally done by our graphic designer. Sure. But there's a difference. Graphic design and Canva are 2 different things.
Sure.
So it's not like those do-it-yourself mailers that you can do or business cards where it's a do-it-yourself template. Like, anything like that where somebody's looking for a professional design, we have our designer do it. But there's times where Canva is okay and it's great for what it is, where it's quick, it's not time consuming, but yet it's still somewhat professional.
And I'm going to be more enthusiastic about Mark with Canva because we're the same thing. I have a full-time editor, and she's great in Illustrator and Photoshop and all these different tools that, when I go in there, I want to smash my computer at first glance because I am not well-versed in that stuff, and it's very overwhelming to me, where somebody like me, I can hop into Canva and I can make a YouTube thumbnail that's good enough, if not better than that, in 7 minutes, 5 minutes. And I consider myself a dummy. So, not saying that you consider yourself a dummy, but it's like, marketing branding for dummies. Like if you don't, like you said, the opportunity cost and benefit, the cost is, I think it's $15 a month for like the pro version.
Yeah. Very cheap.
You can pop in there, you can upload a photo, hit background remover, it pulls the photo right off the background, and you can plug that into a different template with a crazy background. I am very enthusiastic in endorsing Canva. Mark's just much more humble than I am, I guess. It's fine. We're different folks.
Two less coffees a month, and it pays for your subscription.
Yeah, exactly. How much is a cup of coffee? Yeah, I like that sales approach. What is your sales approach? Are you the used car sales guy, where it's like, I'll offer you a high price, and then we'll work back, and then I'll get you to commit to whatever number it is that I want you to be at, and then I'll come back to you after that and be like, okay, we can do this. Like, what?
No.
I didn't think so.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Take it for what it's worth. Here it is.
Yeah.
Now, again, bringing the personalization into it. I do have a soft spot, and like we had somebody recently that got taken advantage by another company. So we literally probably lost money on the website that we had to rebuild. But we did it because they were going to do marketing with us and stuff like that.
There's long-term value, the lifetime value of that customer. Yeah. It makes sense. Yeah. So, I got you.
But for sales, it's not cutthroat. It's like, like I don't chase people either. Like I'll say, here's your proposal. I'll follow up with you once or twice and say, hey, did you get a chance to read it? Do you have any questions? But I'm not going to sit there and waste 6 months, every day calling you, reaching out to you. When you're ready, come see me. Like because the last thing, and one of the things I've tried to stick with going forward is like, if we're just so far apart with expectations or price, like it's just not meant to be, because if I try to force your hand, you're not going to be happy. You're going to kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, is it resent, down the road, where it's like, you're always going to be like, he forced me into this. Why am I doing this? So it's like, here it is. I'll explain anything out. Price really isn't negotiable. And if, I've had some clients where it takes 6 months for them to decide that I want to move forward, because we were 2, 3, 4 times the price of the old company. But now they give us the best recommendations and reviews for anybody that wants like a reference. I give them to them, and, they're paying 4 times what they were paying, but it pays for itself.
Yeah, it's investing versus spending, right?
Yeah.
You can spend $300 a month to the guy that promises you're going to make $2 million from doing that. It's not going to happen.
I'll make you a millionaire by $300.
But I got to tell you, it's crazy, because it's a very ubiquitous practice to say, hey, it's not going to cost that much. We're going to do this, this, and this. And people want to believe it because it's conducive with their budget. It's not uncomfortable, right? $300 a month. Like, yeah, fuck it, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then, but, and everybody's kind of grabbed onto that from the marketing sales side, and they prey on that. But it's like, you know what? If you want to do an extra $3 million in revenue next year, how much of that, if we don't do business and you don't do any marketing or advertising, what of that do you think you could grow naturally, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, we could probably get $500,000. Okay, so there's a $2.5 million gap. What's your average ticket? Oh, it's 10,000. Okay, so you'd have to close 100 jobs to get to $1 million. So you need 250 jobs. Okay, well, if you need 250 jobs, how many leads do you have to see to sign 250 contracts? Well, we close like 30%. Okay, so you need like 800 leads. Okay, average lead on Google Ads is going to cost you like $150. Let's do some quick math. Oh yeah, and I got to get paid as well. There's a management fee.
Yep.
Uh-huh. And now it's really that simple to reverse engineer these things. And I guess I'm kind of oversimplifying it, but that's kind of how you should look into, if you're hiring a marketing agency, have that type of conversation. Force them to make it into a math equation for you. And if you do that and the numbers don't make sense, you're probably being fleeced. Mm-hmm. So I've put in a ton of time, money, and energy into just releasing content to help business owners that even that aren't in our industry or our target industry or in our, let's say, target in general. It's like, I want to put out content that's going to help people. And that's a very helpful piece of content, along with what Mark said about Canva. What are some other things that people should look out for if they're hiring a marketing agency?
I would say, I mean, it depends. One of the biggest ones that I still run into, not as much, it's more on the website side, but the domain. I can't for the life of me understand, why companies say you have to transfer your domain to me. Like
leverage.
I'm fighting right now trying to get domains transferred and stuff like that. And like I tell people, it's like, and some of my clients give me access to, bank accounts or, numbers and stuff like that. But it's like, it's literally like giving away access to your bank account or like giving them, like approving them to be on your bank account when you just transfer the domain. Like if I take control of your domain in my account, you have no control. Like I could tell you to screw you. I could say, now it's mine when you want to leave. Like, so like what we do is if somebody comes to me from scratch, we'll create them a GoDaddy account, their name, their billing info, and, we create it all up for them and it's registered to them. Somebody that already is set up, again, if they have GoDaddy, we'll take their domain transferred into their account. But one of the biggest things is like just control your domain. One, don't do it with somebody you're not reputable. A client of mine did it with somebody in Australia, and it took us like 6 months to get the domain back into our control because they only answered between 2 and 4 in the morning, and it was one email a day. So we would have a question, we had to wait 24 hours. Then we would get one email back at 2 o'clock between 2 and 4 in the morning. And then even if I responded right away, like we stayed up to respond right away, no answer until the next day. 6 months it took to get a domain back. So just control of that is huge.
Yeah, and that's great advice. Just delegate access, right? Like there's an option within your GoDaddy account or Google where you can add access and delegate, and there's different levels to it as well, right? It can be something as simple as like, hey, they just have the opportunity to change some things, or they can make purchases. So just make sure you think about who you're dealing with and delegate the access. Don't transfer access to your domain. And just buy your own domain in the very beginning before you call Mark, before you call me, before you call any marketing agency. You can go on Google Domains or GoDaddy. You can simply search the domain that you want, and it'll be like, you're beat. That one's not available, but we have this one. Mm-hmm. Should people look to do like exact match keyword domains? So, for instance, an example of exact match keyword would be like, pizza shop, Buffalo, New York. Pizza near me, Buffalo.
That's a good question. I'm 50-50 on that. I don't like the exact match, like pizza place, Buffalo, New York. But I'm very big on trying to be exact match on the company name, and if depending on what it is, if you can do that or not. And then I am a big component of having something tied to it. So like pizza, if you're a pizza place, I think you should have pizza in the domain name. SEO value, I don't know. Some people say it brings nothing. I still think it does, and it's based off of my experience. I have a website that I built. She wanted a website, didn't want any marketing, but built a website, and she gets several customers and clients throughout the course of the year that reaches out to her. Originally, she just wanted it for business cards, social profiles, that's it. And she generates new business off of it.
Exact match domain?
Pretty close.
Yeah.
So I firmly believe, and that's not the only one I've experienced with.
Right.
I firmly believe it still does work. But if you watch some of these SEO gurus, I had a potential client that we fired right off the get-go because they listened to podcasts or these ebooks, and they'll sit there and go, well, this person, because he makes all this money on podcasts, like he said, do this, this, and this. And even with me and you, we can say stuff, but at the end of the day, it might be a flop. Sure. It might be a home run. Like, that's marketing. Is nothing is set in stone.
Right.
So, they were just like, well, this person says this. And I'm like, well, if you're following that person, follow that person, do what they say. We're not a good fit. Yeah. Because right off the bat, it was kind of similar to that, where they're like, well, our approach is completely different. Like, they wanted to have like 5,000 backlinks in like a couple of months. And I'm like, well, that's not how my method is.
Yeah, go buy them off Fiverr. Bye.
Yeah, bye. That's not our method. So exact match domain, again, if it's close, I like having the keywords in there. I don't think it's got to be exact match, but I think it still pulls some weight.
Yeah, I think it does too, and I think that the amount of people that discredit the efficacy of it and what people say, and even what like Google said is like, it doesn't matter, it matters very little. I don't know. I've seen it work. I try to take things at face value, but when I see constant reminders that this is in fact working to some degree, it's like, why not do it? Yeah, it's very, very interesting.
If the opportunity's there, do it. That's my recommendation.
Yeah, you stand to lose nothing, right?
Do it. If it's not capable because it's already taken, it's not the end of the world. You can make it up, I think, with doing other things. But if it's available, why not take it?
Yeah, and if you're a business owner and you're considering buying a domain or something like that, and you're not sure exactly what an exact match domain is, just think of things that are searched frequently for your service. Think of how you would search for it. You could go to Google Trends and isolate what search volume is across the states for different things, right? If you're a hairstylist, maybe it's something like, I don't know, blowouts or keratin treatment. Or if you're a roofer, maybe it's best roofer near me or something of the sort. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. Yeah. I don't have all the answers. But you guys can look into these things and try to figure that out. And again, if you're a day one business, it wouldn't be a terrible idea to find something that's very relevant to what you do and services you offer, and brand and or keyword or some combination of both in the domain. So what about if I, here's something I get asked all the time. Well, Mike, you build really nice websites, but I'm going to lose all my SEO if I come to you.
Not true.
Not true.
Not true.
Okay.
It could be true, but it's not true. If you hire a professional who knows what they're doing, you will see I'll say very limited interruption on a exact, just straight up redevelopment, rebuild. Now, if you're changing domain name, again, it's okay to do. I advise against it, but it's okay to do. We had one that completely rebranded domain, everything, had to set up 80-something redirects. They did tank for about 4 months. Yeah. But within 4 months, we then were back up to above where we were before for domain value and all that. So SEO or a rebuild is not going to tank your SEO unless it's done incorrectly. So if you plan on going to Wix, Weebly, GoDaddy, Squarespace, Shopify, and either using a template, hiring somebody who does this on the side, or somebody out of their basement of the house, chances are, yes, it will tank. Hire a legit company, it shouldn't tank.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and you hit the nail on the head, sir. He did 80-something redirects. Okay, so let's dive into redirects, right? Redirects is like, it's almost like mail forwarding for your website. So if I'm at 100 Main Street and you send your payment for your digital marketing services that are just printing you money to 100 Main Street, and I decide to move my office, and I don't tell anybody, I don't tell the post office, I don't tell you, you're just sending shit there, I'm not getting paid, and it's a problem. That's a bad experience for me, right? And it's probably going to be a bad experience for you because I'm going to shut your shit off. And you're like, what the fuck? I've been sending this dude money. He's not cashing the checks. Now I'm gone. but think of it that way, right? Essentially what redirects are is you're informing Google the same way you would notify the post office, your creditors, your bank, that, hey, our address has changed. This is our new sitemap. Maybe your old website had 15 pages and your site structure sucked, and that's why, your SEO was or wasn't working. And now you decided to come on board with Mark here, and now you're going to kill it, but you've got 37 pages in your sitemap. And maybe he changed, those original 15 pages, maybe he changed the slug or what the URL is, the destination where they can find that information. What we have to do is we have to go tell Google, like, hey, by the way, this information used to be here. It's over here and it's way better. Right? So that when somebody goes to that old URL domain and they click that link that maybe they marked as a bookmark, like a favorite, now instead of giving them a 404 error, which is a really bad user experience in Google's eyes, and they'll penalize you for it, now they actually get seamlessly transferred over to the new domain where they can find the same and better information. Did I do a good job explaining that?
Cha-ching.
Okay, perfect. So we just debunked the myth that you're going to lose all your SEO if you rebuild a site. I've also heard that you can't have, you got to pick one or the other. Do you want a highly functioning and ranking site, or do you want a pretty site? Is there truth to that? Are those mutually exclusive?
No, they go hand in hand. I mean, it's now to a certain point, it's what is pretty. If you want flash and you want all images, it's not going to be built for SEO and it's not going to rank really well, but it might look great. It's got to be a mixture of both. You have to have content. If you don't have content, it's going to be really hard to get it to rank. But that doesn't mean just have 350 words in one paragraph centered on the page. Take that, break it up into bits and pieces, make it easy on the eyes. But no, you can 100% have a good looking, professional, sexy website, but have it rank well. There's no issues with that, and there's not a reason why you can't have both in one.
Yeah, and I would say also, there's ways to compress files, whether it's videos or images, right? So that you can kind of reduce the way that it bogs down the site. Like if you just upload a random video, HD video from your iPhone into WordPress and throw it up on your site, you might run into some fucking issues with site speed, right? And there's tools for that. There's Lighthouse Page Speed Insights where you guys can plug in your domain and check these things out for yourself. Take it with a grain of salt. I've seen, I pulled up, so I had a client that was less than happy with their site speed because on mobile it scored out at 37. I'm like, that's not terrible. On desktop, it was 97 or something. But I pulled up, what did I pull up? Yeti coolers. And they failed. It said they failed their core web vitals. And it said their mobile site speed was 19. And I'm like, look at you. You're doing twice as well as Yeti. I'm going to have to ask you for more money. So just take it with a grain of salt, but you can get an idea of maybe some potential issues that you're having. I use especially the desktop version rating as far as if there's any glaring issues. For me, it's really hard to peg through that scoring system on the mobile side how serious of an issue is if you don't know what you're doing and you're just coming in as a novice to be like, holy fuck, I'm at a 30. The world's ending.
Right. Very, very few websites are above that. I think similar to what you did with Yeti, I think I did ESPN or something like that. Yeah. And it was awful. Yeah. But it's people go all the time. So what people don't realize is it also depends on the server that is running that speed and where it is. It depends on the network on your mobile device. Are you 5G? Are you 4G? Are you connected to Wi-Fi? Are you not?
Right.
All that. People have come to me and they're like, well, my website, is loading slow on my phone. Well, where are you? Well, I'm in the basement of my house, not connected to Wi-Fi. Well, can you take a call down there? No. Well, then obviously your website's not going to load pretty fast.
Right.
So it's almost like that. Think of it like reception. Can you use your phone in certain places? Well, if they're using your phone to browse, it's kind of the same thing. So yeah, like you said, and honestly, all those softwares Neil Patel, if you're looking for the domain authority or backlinks, people constantly look for those softwares to run scans for backlinks for, what's my domain authority? They're all, take them all with a grain of salt because they're all pulling data and none of them are 100% accurate because it's not Google saying this is what your domain authority is.
That's a really good point.
Third-party websites and you're relying on them to tell you what Google says, okay.
Take it a step further, and we could say, fucking Google won't even tell you half the time. If you go into your Google Search Console is going to be your most accurate understanding of like organic search of where you should check out data. But you'll see that you've got 1,100 clicks over the last 3 months. But when you add up all the itemized keywords you got clicks for, it only adds up to 349. Like, where are the other 700?
Vanished.
Yeah, I use SEMrush and Ahrefs. Mm-hmm. We use them as just a barometer, right? Especially, it's important. Google's rolling out another update. So we like to use it as it's not an end all be all. I tell people, like, if you're working with a company, it's a good barometer to see if they're doing something, right? You can look at referring domains, you can look at backlinks. And what to look for is like, hey, after 6 months, if nothing is changing, none of those numbers are changing, there's probably an issue, right? Yep. Look on your website. Are they writing blog content, right? Is there an interlinking structure within your site? Like, there are a few things like KPI that are important, but there's also things that are visible to you even as like someone who doesn't practice SEO that you can look for. Like, if you're combing through your page and you realize like there's no hyperlinks, I can't click anywhere to find relevant content, like, it's not going to make the difference of you ranking on page 1 tomorrow, but it'll help. Like, that's something that should be done, an internal linking structure. They should be putting out content on your website, and we could argue about the degree. It's so interesting, right? You have people in SEO that's like, all that matters are links, and then you have other people that are like, all that matters is content. Mm-hmm. And it's like, again, usually when you've got people on two radical sides of an equation, it's usually somewhere in the middle is the answer, right?
100%. Yep.
You should be getting links from other people that find your shit useful, and you should also be writing content that people can link to find useful.
Yep. Right? Absolutely.
Otherwise, what's the point? What are you really going to do?
I think what you said, it's so many people are right and left, and it's like, no, like
we're still talking about the content and links, guys. We're not talking politics.
Yeah, not politics, but it's the same concept of politics, where some people are all, it's links, and it's like, no, it's content. No, it's a mixture of both, and a solid mixture. It's not 70-30. I think it's 50-50, where it's got to be a good balanced mixture, because then it looks awkward. And
I have a theory.
What's that?
You guys ready for this? My theory is, the guys that are radically enthralled with links, they've got a PBN, right? A private blog network where they're getting hundreds, if not thousands, of links very easily, right? Or they're just buying them for super cheap and charging arm and leg. Mm-hmm. And then the guys that are like content, they're using like OpenAI or Jarvis or one of these, platforms where they're just scraping the internet, throwing out a bunch of shit text, doing it at a very low cost and very efficiently, and then charging arm and leg for it, so it benefits them either way to be on one side or the other. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think you're right, because I think 9 out of 10 of the times that I see a lot of the content ones, it's all the same content too. So it's just repurposed stuff. And I've had, in the last 4 years, I probably had 4. I just had my 4th one pop up like that, where it's all duplicate content. So I have a website we're working on now. It's probably 60 pages, and it's all like, I literally showed the client this. I said, go to Google. I said, go to your website, copy a block of text, just throw it into Google, see what happens. And it just lit up like the 4th of July, where it's like all these dark colored, things. And it's like, that's identical to the text on your website. Texas, Ohio, Virginia, Maryland, like just all over the place. And I'm like, there's 22,000 on this one. There's 230,000 on this one. There's 400,000 on this one. All the same stuff. I'm like, that's a number one way to get penalized and lose all your SEO credibility. I mean, I've seen websites get literally blacklisted. You have to start over from scratch, and it
takes a lot for that to happen, but it happens.
Especially when you have duplicate content on 80 pages and with hundreds of thousands of other websites.
Yeah, I actually got a prospect. It was yesterday, and they reached out, and they're in DFW, Dallas Fort Worth. Okay. And I plugged their shit into SEMrush, and it's like this, like from 500 traffic a month over the last 5 years consistently down to 0. And I'm like, it looks like you got manually penalized by Google. And I don't know what type of shit you did. I'm like, but you did some shit, I can tell you that. Turns out they had roof at the end of the domain, and that was somebody in Houston. So I was like, I'm going to reach out to them. That's going to be a good conversation. Not for them. It's going to be a good conversation for me to be able to help. But like, yeah, you don't want to get manually penalized by Google. Like usually, like we want attention. Attention's good. Eyeballs are good at marketing. You don't want Google's eyeballs in that regard. Promise.
Yeah.
But if that happens, there's different degrees to which that can happen. Like you said, if they blacklist you, you've probably done some real foul shit.
Yep.
But if you get a manual penalty, I think you can log into Search Console and see what they're saying, fix it.
Yep. And then submit it to be reviewed, and it can get lifted.
Yeah, lift it, reindex me. Come on, we're all good. I promise you I won't put all those affiliate links for tobacco and alcohol on my site again. Yeah, don't do that.
Or hidden content.
Huh?
Or hidden content.
Yeah, cloaking. There's a ton of fuckery that can exist on the internet. Just
ain't worth it.
Play by the rules. Don't buy reviews.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna stop asking me if you should buy 100 reviews for $500. The answer is no. It's no today. It's no tomorrow. It's always gonna be no.
And listen, if you got to buy reviews, you probably shouldn't be in business.
Yeah, some would say, it's tough because there are some very obvious instances where a company bought reviews, right? Every one of their reviews has one review. They've got 500 reviews. They've been in business for a year. They've done $1 million, but they have 500 reviews. It's fucking tough to get reviews. And I could see why it would be discouraging for a company that's been doing it the right way for 5 years and they've got, maybe 215 reviews. It's shitty. And then to make it worse, Google's like, hey, I know you got 5 reviews last week, but we're going to stick 3 of them in purgatory, and we're not going to show anyone. And we're going to act like we don't know what happened. And we're going to say, it's an algorithm thing. Like, I believe me, I get it. It's fucking painful, but don't buy reviews. It's not the right way.
No.
Yeah.
Nothing but chaos and trouble.
Yeah, because I work with a lot of contractors. I know you have a couple contractors as clients, right? And like Google Guaranteed, Google Local Services is big for them. Yep. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is like if your Google My Business GBP gets suspended, you lose your listing for Google Local Services. They're attached, right?
Yeah.
So think twice if you're looking to engage in unsavory activity because like that can be a kill shot for a lot of companies, especially if you're killing it off of Google Local Services.
Yeah, and to your point, you can't even turn a local service ad on. Like if you're like, let's say you just start a business from scratch, you can't even turn a local service ad on until you have a review to pull.
Yep.
Like
they just implemented that about 6 months ago.
Yeah, like I literally had one where
I think now is it? Like do you need 2 now, or is it just 1?
Still 1.
Is it?
Yeah. So again, this goes back to what you said earlier. Like what Google says doesn't necessarily.
Yeah.
On local service ads, I think it actually says 3.
Yeah.
But when you set it up, like I have one that I set up, and I told them like, hey, reach out to a couple past clients, get a review.
Sure.
When you click on the pending reviews inside of the local service ads, it says it won't go until you get 1. So one place says 1, one place says 3. Get 2 and maybe
it's like Google the fucking scarecrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it can be frustrating, but that's why you hire some strapping young professionals like ourselves to help you through these things. It's fine. What is the one mistake that you would advise people against making if they're trying, they're on the come up, they're trying to do their own shit, trying to be lean, right? And maybe next year they hire someone. What's one thing you would tell them to keep away from doing or to do that they're not doing?
Oh, that's a good question. One of the, I guess my recommendation on one thing not to do would be, don't do it half-ass. So whatever it is, whether it's social media, like if you're going to have a social media page and you're going to do social media, commit to it. Don't do it, make a post day, 2 weeks later, make another post. Like do it and do it the right way. Or if you're going to do SEO, like don't buy links and do it the right way. It's going to take time. It's not going to work overnight. So my biggest thing is, and I would do it in like steps. So because you're a business owner, you can't do it all. It's not like you have a company working for you. Like, we can handle it all for them because we have the setup built out for them. So pick one thing, commit to it, do it right. Once you get that done, move on to the next. Don't try to do 5-10 things at once, because you don't have the bandwidth, and it's either going to shoot yourself in the foot because you're going to do something wrong, which could get you in trouble, or you're just going to do it half-ass, and it puts really a bad look on you from an outside perspective, I think.
That's really sound advice. Don't have step 10 things. Go full throttle on 1 or 2. Know thyself, but commit. And you could take that and translate that to somebody that's year 3 and who does have a company, and you think about giving fractional effort or visibility in a 50-mile service area radius around your home base, right? I service 50 miles. It's like, well, do you want exposure 10% of the time in every area that you service, or would you rather have exposure 20% of the time in 5 service areas, right? It's like, the more fragmented your marketing and advertising is, the less impactful it's going to be on each of the areas that you're hitting. So I always tell people to kind of like prioritize. Make a list from most important to least important of the 10, 30, 70 places you guys work in. And, if you're doing X amount of dollars in Google ads, let's work on deploying those in the areas that are most important to you, right? And, instead of showing up for 1 out of 100 searches, maybe we show up for 1 out of 20. And by the way, your SEO, your Facebook, your Instagram, your door knocking, your flyers, your other efforts should synergize and mirror where you're targeting on your Google campaign, or whatever the case may be. You should work towards having a very unified approach to where you're deploying assets and money when it comes to marketing. I see that as a big mistake that people make. Yes. They want to be as many places as possible, and it's like, you're making very minimal impact in all those places. Let's make a big impact in a couple.
Yes.
Yeah.
And consistency. I think, to your question, what's one thing people should focus on is consistency, like you said. If you're using colors and fonts and a certain design here, use it across the board. Now, not saying that you can't change up. Like, sometimes I'll take my logo that's white and orange and turn it to all white because of the background or something like that. But, my brand, my message is consistent, whether you look at my website, social media,
coat,
pay-per-click, my coat, anything, business cards. It's not different colors. Like, have a branding guideline. This is the font that we use. These are the colors that we use. And just making sure the message is consistent. I even see people where it's like their phone number, sometimes they'll do it differently, versus it's with the 716 and without the 716. And it's like, now here locally, we have to type in 716.
I fucking hate that.
It sucks.
What an inconvenience.
You have to go through and change all your contacts in your phone.
Dude, I do every fucking time I go to dial somebody. I'm like one of few people that have retained like numbers in my head, so I go to dial them and it's like, motherfucker, doo. I'm like, God damn it. Yeah, first world problem, but a problem nonetheless.
So it's consistency is, the number one game, and Google preaches it. They want you to be consistent. So.
Yeah, you made a good point about like sometimes it's 716, sometimes it's not. Make sure your listings are identical. Citations, directories. You don't want to have a bunch of nap errors and coming screaming about why you're not showing up in the maps.
Oh, business name is number one.
Yeah.
You look and, you got, 15 different ways that your business name is out on the internet. And it's like, how does Google know which one's you, which one's a competitor,
Sure.
And so, yeah, consistency is... I think that's like the biggest thing for any business owner.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Be fucking consistent. Do you ever swear, Mark?
A lot.
Yeah. You hold it together well for the show. I appreciate it. I don't pull any punches, so I'll be motherfucking. That's all good.
A lot.
Yeah, there's so much value in just those things that we discussed. What's next for Dominguez marketing? You guys, you have a very specific approach, right? It's, if I'm not mistaken, you won't take on another company. If you work with a plumber, you're not going to sign another plumber. Well, how far away is that? Like, what's the exclusivity?
Within the region that they, service. So, like, if I have a plumber in here, plumbing and HVAC company in Buffalo, the one I work with now only does Niagara and Erie County. So, inside those counties, I won't take on somebody else. But we have become really big in Rochester in the last year. We went from one client, August of 2021 is when I signed him, and he's referred on 5 other ones. And now I think I'm up to 6 in, 13, 14 months. But, some of them in Rochester do service Buffalo.
Sure.
So, like, I won't take on anybody in those 2 areas.
Send them over.
Absolutely. But others don't. Like, I have a pest company here and a pest company in Rochester, and they don't compete.
Yeah, so I feel like not many people are going to service both.
Right.
Maybe it's like some big ticket contractors, right, where that makes a lot more sense. But that's good. Like, that's perfect too, right?
And don't get me wrong, it crosses every once in a while. Like, I have to have conversations, and
but you're not being a scumbag about it.
no,
right?
I like, I have somebody right now that wants me to work with them, and I said, well, I got to check with my other company I work with. If they feel like it's a conflict, I can't take you on. And, so I make that phone call, and, I get the advice of my current client, because, again, I'm not going to burn bridges or.
We're the same way.
Yep. And some of them have been double or triple the amount of money, and I still say, sorry, I can't, and I'll refer them off to another company. But.
One of my OG clients, he's got exclusivity, he's won a few, and it's like, I don't even ask anymore. I'm like, well, this dude, he's, hour and 15 away. I was like, but he's probably going to grow if he comes on board with me, that. And maybe there's, and it's like, I'm like, you know what? That's what I gave the deal away. And dude, it stings. It stings as a young company to give away, X amount of dollars in revenue, but it feels really, really good to wake up and look at that guy in the mirror and like, man, you should probably go do some sit-ups. But other than that, you feel good. Like, that you're doing your best to do the right thing and make a positive impact on the world. That's a really fucking good feeling.
I'll tell you what, you're spot on, because, again, the way I started my company, it sucked to turn away anything.
Yeah.
And I was told dozens of times in the first 3 to 6 months of starting my company, you're not going to last, you're not going to succeed. That business model is too small in Buffalo, because I started marketing just in Buffalo because that's where I was. I can go door to door and pound and hustle. And so I was told it's not going to last. And then, within the first 3 months, to turn away probably 4 clients, or potential clients because of a conflict with another, it sucked when I'm like, that's more money than I'm billing right now that I just turned away.
Yeah.
But I held to it, did it. And, what made it kind of pay off was the one I turned away, I gave him a couple of free pieces of advice on the phone, and he left me a review and said that I helped him. He never paid me for a dime, turned him away and said I couldn't work with you, but gave him a couple pointers, and he left me a 5-star review because I helped him.
I got one too. Jonathan Brose, if you're watching, I love you, man. I had 2 clients in an area. And one was a referral from the other, and they got a north-south thing going. And they understand, like, sometimes it crosses over a little bit, but for the most part, we do a good job at segmenting it. And somebody who I really, really like is in that same market. He reached out to me and is like, I'm like, dude, I just can't, man. I'm like, I'd love to work with you. I'm like, you track everything to T, you get it, you understand how this stuff works. Like, if you're not in the area, if you don't live and work in the area you live and work in, you're like an ideal client. I can't fucking do it. I'm sorry. I love you, but I can't do it. And you know what? But those, like, that's the type of shit, like you said, that will garner the respect of people, because it's so atypical, especially from a marketing company. I mean, there's shitbags in any industry, right? Let's get that out there. Like, whether you're a contractor, you own a restaurant, you're a marketing agency, lawyer, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, there's a small percentage of people that are good at what they do and do it well. There's another tier of people that are good and don't do it well, and there's a bunch of people that don't know or just don't give a fuck, in my opinion. Yeah. Right? So thank you for being one of the good ones, Mark. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. There's a lot of good ones out there, but there's a lot, and I would say it's probably overwhelming bad versus good.
Yeah.
But, it's not to say everybody is bad.
No.
There's a lot of good people, and like I said, I have other people in my network that when I do have to turn somebody away, it's not just, hey, I can't help you, peace out. It's let me call and make a couple calls and find somebody that has an opening. I'll set you up with them, and then I make an introduction. So it's like, I've personally been referred by some of my clients, potential people that I've turned away because they didn't realize I already had somebody. And, I try to make sure nobody gets screwed over and just build out a network that I can refer people out when I can't take somebody on. So,
yeah, I like that. It's, and businesses can benefit from having those types of relationships. We talked about it a bit before we started the show, and like finding a competitor. And here's the thing, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be your closest competitor or direct competitor. I work with roofers, and like sometimes it's a situation where this client only does asphalt and one of their competitors only does metal.
Yep.
Right? There's an opportunity for a relationship there if you both do quality work. I'd say that's very, very important, though. If you're going to refer people somewhere else, understand for better or worse, that shit reflects on you, and it's going to have implications to your brand. So be careful with where you're sending people for sure, because it can be great, and they can go give you a review and advocate for you because you know what, you did the right thing, you had integrity, you found them somewhere to go. That's an amazing thing. But if you do it to the wrong person, you could just as easily find yourself in a situation where it's like you're getting fucking smeared online because you sent this person here and things went sideways. So exercise some discretion and just choose good strategic partners.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a shit ton of value in that. Even not competitors, just like adjacent industries. If you're a roofer, who else gets in touch with homeowners all the time? Think about fucking landscapers, pest control companies. So if you guys create these relationships where it's like, hey, I'm at houses 6 times a day between all my salespeople. Yeah, me too. Like I can start recommending you. You can start recommending me. We can do that online. We can do that in person, and you create an ecosystem where everybody wins. The homeowners, both companies. Like it's fantastic. Just it might be uncomfortable to start those conversations with another company, but it's fine.
Yeah.
What's the worst they're going to say is fuck off?
Yeah.
Guess what? And you call their competitor and make the relationship with them.
And depending on, your situation, like for us, I mean, we're a lot closer than like some of the bigger agencies out there with our clients. But, I just had a Christmas party for all my marketing clients, and I would say probably half of them in the room do business with each other, where it's like, oh, I'm a roofer. This person has a dumpster company. I'm going to borrow a dumpster from him. Or, oh, the plumber, or the roofer, he does business with the power washer, guy, or, vice versa. The, chiropractor, she now can take on all the people and give them a rate for all their employees to, in the construction field to fix their backs. Like,
sounds like you got to charge a facilitation fee. He's a better man than me, folks, because I'd be charging you $50 per connection.
There you go. But it's, it's like building, like you said, an ecosystem where we all help each other. We all try to promote each other, and you really never know when somebody's going to need each other. So, potentially even ask your company to say, hey, connect me with people that, I can build my network with and, create a referral source. And, now they use each other consistently. So,
how are you going to handle growing the company with how intimate your relationships are? Do you plan on capping out soon so that, you can maintain that very intimate style relationship? Do you plan on maybe it's a situation where you keep your book of business that you've built and you bring other people on and you have guidelines as far as how they build their book of business? What does that look like for the future of Dominguez marketing?
There's no answer for that.
Fair enough.
It will, I'm not going to force it, as much as, some people say I, build a $5 million, $15 million, $50 million company. To me, as long as I continue to enjoy what I do, because once you don't enjoy it, it's no longer fun. And it's more of a job. I don't consider this a job, because I love what I do, the connections I make, the money I make, it's not a job. It's, I don't know. It's fun to me. Like I don't wake up and go, oh man, I got to go to work today. Like I look forward to interacting with my clients and talking with them. And so as long as I continue to have fun, make money to support my family, help clients in, businesses grow in my community, and that feeds back to their employees and making sure they have food and money to spend. I'll grow it to where I can. And then at that point, either I stop, maybe I do that for a year, and then I find that right person that can come on board, and then we grow from there. But I'm not forcing the hand where it's like, oh, I'm going to go through 10 salespeople in a year trying to find the right person. And it will take probably months before I make that decision, even when I do find that person, because even now, like when I bring on a new person to work with me, like I'll give them some of my stuff to do at first. And I want to see how they react. I want to see if I say, hey, I need this today. Do they make it a priority to get it done? Is it pushed off to tomorrow? Mm-hmm. Not saying everything's going to be today, but every once in a while, hey, I need this today. And they use my stuff. And then based off of there, if I feel comfortable with how they do it with my stuff, then I will start to bring them on, include them in client stuff, and then have them work on client stuff. So, right now I'll max out in the future. Or maybe I'll take more on, and just delegate more off. I don't really have an answer to that.
Yeah, I mean, I got to tell you. So we had a moratorium on bringing on new clients for 2 to 3 months last year because, and it's so fucking hard, when there's two sides of it. It's like, man, I do this for a lot of reason and money. I'm a capitalist. Mm-hmm. I want to make money. I want to fucking retire at some point. I want to live comfortably when I do. And it's like, man, it really sucks to turn away money. But the other side of it is like, God, for every person that I turn away, there's a much stronger likelihood, just by virtue of there being less good companies than bad companies. There's a higher propensity every person I turn away that they're gonna get fucking hosed by some shitty marketing company. Yes. So I have a responsibility, and it's like, fuck. It's so challenging. So I found your answer. I was anticipating your answer, and I was excited to hear it. And I think that makes sense. It's a tough situation to deal with, and you'll get through it.
Yeah, and I mean, it depends on the case too, right? If you come to me and you're content where you are, and you don't need something right now, and I say, hey, we're 2-3 months out before I can help you, maybe you wait. So it depends on the client too, where it's like, now if they come to me and say, hey, I need this right away, and I'm like, I'm 2 months out, then maybe we can't help. But I think it depends on there. Like, what you said, you took a 2-3 month break, but if somebody comes to you during that time and can wait, and because it's not like a dire need,
yeah,
maybe you help them down the road and just not right now. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, ours was a situation where I was growing out the infrastructure, so it was indefinite at the time. Mm-hmm. I didn't know if it was going to be 2 months or 4, and I hate setting expectations that aren't very clear and concise, and, I'm like, I don't know, we're probably looking at a couple months. I hate to be ambiguous. I'm like, but I don't want to pigeonhole myself either. Like, we're training people, we're evolving, and I just want to make sure that the infrastructure is built out in a way where we can handle the capacity, so ultimately you don't get a lesser quality experience or results than the people that you see endorsing us that led you to calling us, mm-hmm. right?
Absolutely.
And, not everyone was super happy about it, but it's fine. I'm sure they're way happier than they would have been if, they would have got subpar, performance or mm-hmm. experience, right?
Right.
So growing a business, it's not easy, folks. Y'all know that. If you're listening to this podcast, it ain't easy. And we're just out here trying to do our best.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you're a marketing company and you're listening to this, one of the things I'll say is under promise, over deliver all day long. Mm-hmm. Never, even when somebody on my team says, this will be done Wednesday, I always add 2 or 3 days onto it because you never know what's going to come up. And when you tell people Wednesday, and it's Thursday, Friday every time, or, just whatever, it never makes you look good, and it, puts a bad taste in the customer's mouth or the client's mouth. Yeah. So to me, always, under promise, over deliver. And that is the best way to set expectations.
I couldn't agree with you more. Any of my clients, if you're listening to this, y'all know the deal. Yeah, I know. And yeah, you know what? You might lose some opportunities because of it, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
You know, and because if somebody has a problem with you being realistic, not every customer needs to be your customer, and you're probably better off without that customer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of the times, even for ones that go sideways, we've had customers where it hasn't panned out, and we have. I'm very particular with who we bring on because I want to protect the brand.
Yep.
We have a very good, reputation. I don't want that to be anything less than great. And if you got 100 people, there's going to be one or two that are never happy. I don't care if you're baking pizzas, or you're fucking unclogging toilets, or you're building websites and doing SEO. Doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. There's always, so it's like, do your best to protect the brand, and at the same time, just realize that if you do get a 1-star review, it's not the end of the world.
No,
like that shit's gonna happen. Don't go on the offensive and attack them. I know it's your baby. Don't do that. Talk through it. Explain what happened. Try to be objective. Maybe have somebody else write it for you. Write a response to this. Because I feel like I want to fucking flip out.
Yep.
And maybe you just make tweaks to that. Maybe you don't. Maybe you just publish it. But it's okay. It's not the end of the world if you have one customer that's not happy and they voice that.
Yeah, I think we actually do a lot of our clients review response specifically for that reason, because most times they're defensive or could be a little aggressive in the response. So we always say we want to be politically correct when we're saying it.
Yeah. Be a diplomat.
So it's, you could be 100% right being the business owner, but at the same time, and there's certain times where, we'll even recommend to the client, like, yes, it's okay to bring to light the situation or, to kind of call out what happened, but do it in a respectful manner.
Tact, folks, tact.
Yes.
Yeah.
A bad review is not the end all be all. You'll get a lot more positives than negatives, hopefully. And
I mean, it's almost like in wrestling, like you get taken down, right? You get points for the takedown, but that could be reverse, right?
Yep.
And that can make a huge difference in the outcome of that match. And really, if you respond using that tact, and are very careful in how you choose to articulate yourself and call somebody out without being a dick about it, it can actually work to your benefit when people see, because if somebody goes and they're looking for a roofer and they sort reviews newest to oldest, right? And they see a 1-star review and they're reading through it and then they're going to read your response.
Yep.
Right? They're going to see how you're responding and engaging with your customers. If they see that you're very professional, you lay out the facts, you got photos, and it's very well documented, it's thorough, and it's like, this dude was probably just being an asshole. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've done it. I've read reviews, seen responses like, yeah, that guy's probably a jerk.
Yep.
So, I mean, it can happen. So just be careful. It's fine. Not the end of the world.
Or the ones that you'll get like a review and it's like their profile was just created and they left 3 positive reviews that day, left you a negative one, and we actually had that with a client happen. They left in one day, they left a review in Canada, here, which the negative one was here, a positive one in Canada, a positive one in Boca Raton, Florida, and a positive one, I think it was somewhere in Texas. So it's
it was a busy day for him.
How do you leave 3 positive reviews, 1 in a different country, 2 in different states, and then a negative one here? So in the response to that review, I craft up the response, send it to the client, they approve it, we post it, and it's like, unfortunately, we can't find your name anywhere in our system and database. And after looking at, the reviews you left, it seems like the profile was just created today. You left them here, 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 and here. If you're an actual customer of ours, reach out here, phone number, email. We'd be happy to, figure out what happened and make it right. Other than that, we think this is a spam profile.
Other than that, fuck off.
And when somebody looks like, on Google, you can click the profile and see the review. So now we call attention to it. Now a consumer, hopefully they click on that and look and go, oh, they're right.
Yeah.
Now that review, even though it's 1 star, it holds no value.
Right.
Because people are like, yeah, how the hell do you leave 3 reviews, and then a 4th one, and it's like, can't be in a different country in 3 states at the same time.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard.
And if you can, I want to know how.
Private
I got questions. Yeah. Well, dude, I can't thank you enough for coming in and spending some time with me, man. Do you got any questions before we wrap up?
No, I don't think so. I would just, do your due diligence, ask for references. Like, don't just go off of reviews. If you're a business owner looking,
very good point.
Try to speak with people. because you really want to know, like, if shit hits the fan, how are they going to react? And like I've had somebody, their website goes down at 11 o'clock at night and calls me and we get it back up. Most agencies aren't going to do that. There's nobody answering the phone then.
Right.
So just, do your due diligence. And if anybody guarantees you anything, run. If somebody says, I can guarantee first page placement, God can't guarantee.
Hear me out. Hear me out for 1 second. With the continuous scroll being re-implemented and beta tested on Google, everyone's page one.
True. That is annoying. I hate that. That is awful. Because now you literally can't tell. You're like, wait, how many scrolls have I done now?
Yeah.
Am I on 3 or 4? But yeah, I mean, like I said before, in marketing, we've hit some home runs, and crushed it for, our businesses. We've doubled and tripled their value. But we've also ran campaigns that halfway through the month, I look at the customer or the client, I say, like, this sucks. It's not performing well. We're going to turn it off, save the rest of the budget for next month, or, add that budget in. Like, if you're, planning on spending all of that anyways, let's wait until we, have one that's really, performing well, and let's put more gas on that fire because it's producing more. So,
yeah, that's interesting. We have some clients with large budgets in the Northeast for roofing, and it's like, I'm like, we're not going to spend $10,000 in February in Buffalo. I can spend $10,000 for you if you want me to.
It's not going to produce much.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to probably produce the same as if you spent $2,500, because we're gonna segment how we're serving up the ads to the most relevant people that are likely to convert into a legitimate opportunity for you. So, I could spend $1 million in a day on Google Ads, no problem. But it's all about protecting your budget and making the most sensible decisions. I mean, I'm not a fiduciary of a client, but we're handling your money, and our job is to make you as much money as possible. And if I'm spending money on shit searches just to say we spent your money, it's not fucking productive. So we do kind of the same thing where it's like, all right, well, let's take that excess of $6K here, $3K here, $2K here. Now when April, May hits, we don't gas that motherfucker. You don't gas it. Yeah, and then there's going to be way more quality searches available, and you're going to do better because of it. You thank me later. It's all good. Love you. Yeah, really good point, dude. That's really good. Just tons of great stuff here today. You're the best, man. Thanks for stopping by.
No problem. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We'll talk again soon. If anyone wants to reach out to you, how do you suggest they do so?
They can go to our website, dominguezmarketing.com. They can shoot me an email, mark@dominguezmarketing.com. Phone call, 716-919-6584.
Got it. You heard it here first, folks. And thank you to the audience. Thank you for everyone tuning in. We appreciate you. None of this would be possible without you. And we gone.